Imagine this. You wake up to find a stranger's car blocking your garage. No note, no apology, just pure entitlement. What would you do? This isn't hypothetical. It's exactly what happened to me last Saturday. By the end, the entitled neighbor who thought she could steal my property regretted ever crossing me. Stick around to see how it all went down. You won't believe the twist. Before we dive in, I'd like to remind you to hit the subscribe button. Currently, only 88.7% of my viewers are unsubscribed. Once we hit 1,000 subscribers, I'll release an exclusive special video just for you. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. Saturday morning started like any other. Coffee in hand, still half asleep. I was already debating whether to have pancakes or eggs for breakfast. My mind blissfully relaxed. Then I glanced outside and noticed a shiny silver SUV smack in the middle of my driveway, blocking my garage door entirely. No note, no explanation. Just my driveway. Her rules. At first, I thought maybe a friend had dropped by unexpectedly. I grabbed my phone to check for missed calls or messages. Nothing. Confused and more than a little irritated, I stepped outside, the cold pavement against my bare feet jolting me fully awake. The SUV was freshly washed, glinting in the morning sun with fuzzy dice swinging tauntingly from the rearview mirror, like it was proud of itself for being there. I knocked on a few neighbors' doors, hoping someone might know whose car this was. Eventually, Mrs. Thompson next door poked her head out, reading glasses perched on her nose. She let out a weary sigh when I described the car. "Oh, that's Karen's," she said, sounding almost apologetic. She mentioned needing extra parking, but I assumed she meant in her own driveway. Apparently not. Karen had moved into our neighborhood about a year ago, and in that time, she'd become infamous for her disregard of basic courtesy. She left her trash bins out for days, blasted music at odd hours, and generally acted like the entire street existed solely for her benefit. Now it seemed she'd decided to expand her territory into my driveway. My annoyance flared. I marched down to her house and rang the doorbell. No response. I waited, rang again. Finally, the door creaked open. Karen stood there, clad in leggings and an oversized sweatshirt, coffee cup in hand. The way she looked at me made it clear she felt I was disturbing her peace. "Yes?" she asked, her tone dripping with impatience. I forced a polite smile. "Hey, Karen? Your SUV is parked in my driveway. Could you move it, please?" She took a leisurely sip of her coffee, her eyes barely leaving mine. "Oh, yeah. I had a friend over last night and ran out of space in my driveway, so I just parked there. I'll move it later." My blood pressure rose. "When exactly is later?" I tried to stay calm, but my jaw clenched. She shrugged. "I don't know. Sometime today." She said it like it was no big deal, as if blocking someone's garage door was a casual oversight. I felt my hand tighten on the doorframe. "Karen, I need to use my garage. Could you move your car now?" She let out a theatrical sigh, rolling her eyes. "God, relax. It's just a driveway. Why are you so uptight about it?" That was the moment I realized it wasn't just about the inconvenience. It was about respect. Something Karen seemed to lack entirely. "It's my driveway," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "And you didn't ask if you could park there." She waved a dismissive hand as though batting away a fly. "Fine, I'll move it when I get the chance." Then she shut the door in my face, leaving me on her doorstep, stunned and fuming. Back at my house, I weighed my options. Calling a tow truck was tempting, but I quickly discovered that because this was private property, the initial cost would come out of my pocket. As satisfying as it would be to see her precious SUV hauled away, I wasn't keen on spending my own money to fix her mistake. I decided to give Karen one more opportunity to do the right thing. I shot her a text. "Hey, really need you to move your car now." She replied, "OMG, get a life, it's just a car." That response told me everything I needed to know about her sense of entitlement. Another text from me, "You're blocking my garage, move it." Her response, "Chill, I said I'd get to it." Chill? The gall of that woman was astounding. She was acting like I was the one in the wrong. But if it was drama she wanted, I was about to give her a front row seat. I strolled into my garage, retrieved a heavy-duty padlock I normally used for my backyard gate, and walked back to my driveway. My property was fenced and the gate was usually left open. Not today. I snapped the lock shut around the latch, effectively trapping her SUV inside my property. Then I snapped a few photos just in case and sent her a final message. Your car is now safely stored in my driveway. Don't worry, I locked it in for you. As a final flourish, I mirrored her attitude. OMG, why are you making such a big deal about this? You're so dramatic. Then I turned my phone to silent. Let her stew. Sure enough, within minutes my phone started buzzing nonstop. Karen's messages flew in fast and furious. What the hell? Open the gate right now. This is illegal. I couldn't stop grinning. So she cared about legality now? I typed one reply. Chill, I'll get to it later. Then I tossed my phone on the kitchen counter. I had packing to do. A week-long vacation was waiting for me, and Karen's crisis was not on my list of priorities. Since she wasn't in any rush to move her car, I sure as heck wasn't in a rush to unlock the gate. I loaded my suitcase into my own vehicle, which was safely parked inside my garage. The design of my property allowed me to drive out through a small side exit, so Karen's SUV stayed locked behind the main gate while I slipped away. The look on her face when she saw me pulling out was priceless. She was at the gate, shaking it like a rabid raccoon trying to tear through a locked cooler. She yelled, "Wait, where are you going?" I rolled down my window and flashed a sweet smile. Vacation. Her eyes practically bulged out of her head. You can't be serious. Oh, but I am. I winked. See you in a week, Karen. With that, I drove off, leaving her sputtering behind the locked gate. The first day of my vacation was heavenly. Crisp mountain air, scenic lake views, and zero entitled neighbors. But by mid-morning, my phone lit up with repeated notifications. At first, I resisted the urge to check, but after the 10th buzz, curiosity won out. Unsurprisingly, the messages were from Karen. You have 5 minutes to get back here. I'm calling the cops. This is illegal. Where are you? I chuckled, imagining her pacing around, absolutely livid. Did she really think I was going to abandon my vacation for her convenience? Then came a text from my neighbor Mike, a guy who thrived on neighborhood drama. He wrote, "Bro, I hope you're sitting down because Karen is losing her mind." Attached was a video. I had to see this. The shaky phone footage showed Karen at my locked gate, tugging on the padlock like it might magically spring open if she yanked hard enough. She was yelling into her phone, presumably at me, or maybe at the universe in general. At one point, she actually kicked the gate in frustration, then hopped away, clutching her foot. I laughed so hard I nearly spilled my coffee. By day 2 of my vacation, Karen's messages shifted from aggression to desperation. Please, I'm sorry. Just open the gate. I didn't mean to be rude. I was having a bad day. My husband is going to kill me. So there was a husband in the picture. I wondered if he was aware of her hijinks. Mike told me he'd glimpsed him once, stepping outside and staring down the street as if he wanted no part of this drama. Apparently, he avoided confrontation even more than Karen did, probably out of sheer embarrassment. Mike came through with another update that night. Karen had tried calling a locksmith. The poor guy showed up, took one look at the locked gate, and asked for proof of property ownership. When she couldn't provide it, he refused to do anything. Mike reported that Karen threw a fit, spewing curses in front of the baffled locksmith who left as quickly as he could. By day 3, Karen escalated further, contacting the HOA. Usually, the HOA was the neighborhood menace. They handed out fines like candy on Halloween. But Karen was already on their radar for her long history of issues, blaring music, questionable building additions, and ignoring basic neighborhood guidelines. If anything, she was the last person who should have welcomed an HOA inspection. Later, Mike sent me a message. HOA just left Karen's place. She tried to report you for locking her car in. They fined her instead for unauthorized vehicle storage. I can't breathe. This is hilarious. I nearly choked on my water. The idea of Karen trying to weaponize the HOA and getting fined herself was pure karmic justice. But the pinnacle of her desperation came on day 4 when she called the police. Mike, always ready with his phone, recorded the entire exchange from behind his curtains. 2 officers arrived, listened to Karen's sob story, then asked the obvious questions. Did the homeowner give you permission to park in his driveway? No. Did he ask you to move the car? Yes. The officers exchanged exasperated looks. One finally said, "Then there's no issue here. This is private property. He's allowed to lock his gate." "I need my car," Karen whined. "Should have moved it when he asked," said the other officer. They got in their cruiser and left, probably trying not to burst into laughter. By the time I rolled back into the neighborhood at the end of the week, the legend of Karen's meltdown had spread like wildfire. As I pulled into my driveway, blissfully empty, I saw Mike jogging over, barely able to contain his grin. "You missed an epic show," he said, still laughing. "Karen's been going crazy." I shrugged. "Sounds like justice was served. She hasn't even come out of her house much the last few days. She knows she lost." I hopped out, unlocked my gate, and swung it open. Sure enough, her SUV was still there, probably dusty by now. Strangely, she didn't appear, which was a disappointment. I was almost hoping for a final confrontation. With a casual stroll, I headed to her front door and knocked. After an interminable wait, the door creaked open, revealing Karen's scowling face. "Your car's free to go," I said. "Figured you might want it back." She huffed. "I should charge you for making me wait an entire week." I cocked an eyebrow. "Oh, we're talking about charging? Because I was thinking of invoicing you for parking fees." Her glare could have melted steel. "You wouldn't." I fished a folded paper from my pocket. $50 a day, times 7 days, $350, cash or check, your choice. Her face turned an alarming shade of purple before she slammed the door. I strolled back to my house, chuckling. Sure enough, within the hour, her SUV vanished from my driveway. She slunk off without a single apology. I noticed the entire street was eerily quiet. Everyone was probably watching from behind their curtains, savoring the final act of this neighborhood drama. The following morning, I wandered outside with my coffee and took a deep breath of sweet, Karen-free air. No blocked driveway, no throbbing bass from an impromptu party, no trash cans littering the street. It felt like a victory parade in my own head. A couple of neighbors gave me thumbs up or approving nods. Clearly, word had gotten around. That's when my final touch of pettiness struck me. I hopped on the neighborhood Facebook group and posted a photo of my parking invoice with the caption, "Friendly reminder to respect other people's property. Parking fees can be expensive." The reaction was immediate and glorious. Mike wrote, "Dude, I can't stop laughing." Mrs. Thompson chimed in with, "I wish I'd thought of that." Another neighbor asked if Karen had actually paid. I replied, "Nope," but it was the thought that counted. Karen went completely off the grid for a while. No more driveway invasions, no more late-night ruckus. Then Todd, who lived a few houses down, commented on my post. "Saw Karen's car parked 3 blocks away the other day. Husband probably told her to take no chances." I nearly spit out my coffee. A week later, I was watering my lawn when Karen finally made an appearance. She was on the sidewalk, walking faster than I'd ever seen her move. Eyes laser-focused on the horizon, clearly determined to ignore me. I called out, "Morning, Karen." She gave the most strained half-nod in existence and quickened her pace. I actually admired her perseverance in pretending I didn't exist. You might think this is where it all ended, but the drama had aftershocks. Karen had called the HOA on me, so the HOA decided to turn their full focus on her. They started fining her for every little rule she'd broken. Excessive trash bin time on the curb, lack of yard maintenance, noise complaints. She'd gone from neighborhood menace to the HOA's favorite target in record time. I'd normally feel a little sympathy for someone buried under a pile of HOA fines, but this was Karen we were talking about. She'd spent so long flouting rules that she was bound to get hit eventually. It just so happened that my locked gate gave the HOA the perfect excuse to clamp down. According to Mike, she spent days trying to find some obscure regulation she could use against me, but my property was impeccably maintained. No unapproved structures, no late trash bins, nothing she could latch on to. As the weeks passed, neighbors openly joked about watching the clock whenever they saw Karen, just to remind her that some of us actually respect community rules. She never once admitted wrongdoing, but she never parked in my driveway again either. It was an unspoken acknowledgement of defeat. These days, the neighborhood is quieter. Karen still lives here, but she's more subdued. People say hi to her out of politeness and she mumbles back a greeting, but she avoids lingering conversations. The ghost of her misdeeds lingers, though. Everyone remembers the week she held my driveway hostage and how spectacularly that backfired. Some neighbors occasionally bring up the story, asking me if I'd ever go through that hassle again. I just grin and say, I'd do it twice. The sense of satisfaction I got from standing my ground is something I won't soon forget. Karen's meltdown may have provided the neighborhood with a week of top-tier entertainment, but it also reminded all of us that a little backbone goes a long way. I also learned that small acts of boundary setting can inspire others. A few days after I got back, Mrs. Thompson told me she finally confronted a different neighbor about letting their dog roam off-leash. She said, watching me handle Karen gave her the nudge she needed to stand up for herself. It seems that by locking Karen's SUV in my driveway, I inadvertently unlocked a sense of empowerment among my neighbors. The best part? Even the local HOA gossip circle seems to have turned Karen's fiasco into a cautionary tale. Mike overheard them discussing the driveway incident as a prime example of what happens when you ignore common courtesy. Rumor has it they're even considering revising some of the neighborhood guidelines to prevent anyone else from pulling a similar stunt. Karen's poor decision-making might actually spark a positive change. Ironic, right? So what's the moral of the story? Never underestimate the power of a well-placed padlock and a perfectly timed vacation. Entitlement may run deep, but it's no match for someone who's had enough. Karen's SUV became a legendary tale around here. People still ask me if it really stayed locked up for an entire week. And me? I'm still savoring the sweet satisfaction of victory, sipping my coffee each morning in a driveway that remains blissfully mine. Remember, it's not just about a blocked garage. It's about standing up for yourself when someone tramples on your rights. Sure, I could have called a tow truck or the police immediately, but sometimes a little creative payback is far more memorable. And judging by Karen's skittish avoidance these days, I'd say the message sank in loud and clear. If you've ever dealt with a neighbor like Karen, you know the frustration that comes from that level of entitlement. But the next time someone tries to walk all over you, just think about how satisfying it can be to lock them out. Or, in this case, lock them in. And if you find yourself in a similar situation, maybe you'll remember this story and take a page from my book. Until next time, stay vigilant and watch your driveway. You never know when a Karen might decide it's hers for the taking. In the end, a little boundary setting can go a long way toward preserving your sanity and your property. As for me, I'll be here, calmly sipping my coffee, smiling at the thought of that locked gate, and enjoying every second of a life free from driveway thieves. Cheers.